Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and we're getting to my favorite time of the year when my heirloom chrysanthemums start blooming. So we're going to talk about heirloom chrysanthemums, we're going to plant some cuttings, and we're going to take some cuttings and propagate them. Okay, so a few years back, I had been buying dahlia tubers like crazy. They were dying and rotting and doing terrible, and I had spent hundreds of dollars. So since the dahlias are going so poorly, I started researching, looking for a flower that had this beautiful dahlia-like presence, but not the dahlia tubers, and I located heirloom chrysanthemums. Now, I've been growing mums in my garden for years, just the basic ones that you get from your big box store or your nursery. A lot of them come back for me year after year. They can be perennial in some areas. And so I thought, oh, I probably would have a good luck with the heirloom chrysanthemums. Now, heirloom chrysanthemums are a little bit different than those garden mums that you see during the fall. Heirloom chrysanthemums are grown for really long stems, very unique blooms. They're considered more florist grade. So these are ones that would be harvested and utilized in floral shops across the world. But the thing about mums is they're extremely hardy. They come in a ton of different colors, and they're fairly inexpensive to get going. Okay, a couple of things. Where do you get heirloom chrysanthemums? Well, basically, I buy cuttings online. I've worked with a couple of different companies. My favorites, hands down, are Bluestone Perennials. That's when I first started my heirloom chrysanthemums, and King's Mums. There's pretty much no one as good as King's Mums in my opinion. I get quality cuttings for a really good price. They're a little bit old school in how you communicate with them, but I'm cool with that, that's fine. And they have tons and tons of options for you to choose from. I have used some other companies without as much success, so I'm not actually going to mention them here, but I feel really good about Bluestone Perennials and King's Mums if you're wanting to jump into chrysanthemum world. Now, if you've used other companies with excellent success, go ahead and drop those companies below because we would all like to know and be able to share those. And then typically you have cuttings and you have plants that you can buy. So Bluestone Perennials, you're going to get the plant. It's going to be a little bit more of an established plant. It's usually in like a 4x4 or 3x3 container with more of a root system. And you're probably going to pay anywhere from like $10 to $20. For the cuttings that I get from King's Mums, you're getting just a rooted cutting, so it's just a little stem, a little bit of root systems, very small little, like, 2-inch by 2-inch little guy, and you have to grow those cuttings on. They're much less expensive, anywhere from $2 to $5 each. Okay, let's talk a little bit about expectations versus reality for mums. So when I first started growing these heirloom mums, I'm like, I'm going to pop them in the ground, I'm just going to have a ton of blooms, it's going to be great. It's going to take definitely a full year for you to start getting some significant blooms. And then, of course, these actually also follow the sleep, creep, and leap scenario. They sleep their first year, they creep their second year, and they leap their third year. Mine are currently in their third year, and they definitely have leaps. A lot of my plants have 20+ blooms on each plant, which looks absolutely amazing. So just a reminder that those are going to take a little bit longer to get going. Now, sometimes I will get 2 bloom cycles in a year. I will get a spring bloom cycle and I will get a late fall bloom cycle. It's all based on the length of day. Chrysanthemums, they bloom based on how many hours of sunlight they're getting per day. My spring bloom cycles tends to be very subdued with very few blooms, but it still is a cycle. You don't have to do the spring bloom cycle. You can go ahead and pinch and cut back all your blooms and just allow it to focus for fall. My fall bloom cycle tends to be late fall, November in my zone 8 area. And that one is plethora of blooms, hundreds of stems, which is really, really fun. Regarding diseases and pests, I haven't really dealt with any of that. So that's really nice. They tend to be disease resistant. The only issues I've kind of seen is at the beginning when I have smaller cuttings, they do sometimes suffer from spider mites. Once my plants are established and growing on, they don't usually have any issues. I have run across some issues regarding iron levels in my chrysanthemums. So sometimes I do have to supplement them with a little bit of Dr. Iron to fight that chlorosis, and that's when they have kind of the yellowish leaves with the green veining. So I've had to deal with that as well. Okay, so mums come in so many different varieties, almost every color under the sun, shapes, sizes, long, short, tall, wide. I mean, all the different very interesting things. There's a lot of competitions for mums in the gardening world where you can put your blooms in and compete with them, but it's very wide open. So likely you're going to find at least some heirloom chrysanthemum that you love for its style, color, and patterns. Okay, so I have 4 new ones that I'm going to be adding to the garden today. And I will go over those when I'm planting each one of those, and I'll go over how to plant each one. All right, a couple of other things to think about heirloom chrysanthemums before we head outside. They don't like for their soil to be wet for long periods of time. So if they sit in water, they're going to rot. So it's very important to remember. I have all of mine set up to drip irrigation for my hot, dry summers. But when we are in rainy season, well, if we ever have rainy seasons, or if I have significant amount of rain, I shut off my drip during that time so that I do not overwater my chrysanthemums. They are extremely heavy feeders, chrysanthemums are, specifically in the spring. You definitely want to hit them with a couple of rounds of fertilizer in the spring. That's when they're doing all their work in preparation for the fall. I just tend to use biotone, plant tone, garden tone, flower tone, any of the tones. I don't really stress about it. Rose tone is actually really, really good, or any kind of rose fertilizer is really good for chrysanthemums as well. I just use a granulated one that I toss at the base of the plant at the beginning of spring and allow the spring rains to water it in. Now, pinching is a thing that a lot of people go back and forth with regarding mums. Pinching's fine. The idea of to pinch or not to pinch is what you're looking for in your flowers, okay? So typically I hear a lot of people are like, oh, I pinch my mums as soon as they start budding up in the spring because I don't want them to bloom until fall. That's completely up to you. I tend to get a round of blooms in the spring and then cut all of my mums back. When I say cut, I mean I just shave off all the blooms at the top, maybe go about 6 inches. Definitely leave at least 12 inches of your plant at the base, but shave all those back around July 4th. And then I still have enough time to see those mums blooming in the fall. We are beginning of October right now, and all of my garden mums, and those are your basic, fall mums that I bought from the store. All of those garden mums, they already bloomed this spring. I cut them back on July 4th and they're all budded up, ready to go. And I should have blooms by the end of October for those. Heirloom chrysanthemums, a little bit different. I grow those for long stems. I do not pinch those in any way. I don't stress about it. I want them to grow long, crazy stems. Their shape's going to be a little erratic because of that, but I grow them for actual cut flowers, so I do not pinch them. If you're not growing your mums for cut flowers, you're just growing them for these beautiful blooms, you can definitely pinch them to create a more bushy, tidier habit with the plant. Or you can choose not to pinch and they'll grow a little bit tall and wonky. They can fall over to the sides, so sometimes mums will need support, but I'll just leave that up to you. But when you're pinching, you really just got to think about what your overall goal is for the mum at the end. They're in your front yard and you're just showcasing beautiful color and you don't plan on cutting them, yeah, you might want to pinch them to make them bushier. If you're like me and you're growing them for cut flowers, you're not going to pinch at all. Okay, and then once again, mums are grown typically through propagation, not seeds. I get a lot of people asking me where I got my mum seeds. I don't have mum seeds. I've got them from buying actual plants and buying cuttings online. Today, we're actually going to propagate, and I'm going to show you how to do that with your mums. It's super, super simple. Truthfully, this propagating technique you use on a lot of different plants. But we're going to go ahead and propagate some different mums for my friend Kristen's property. Okay, let's head outside, and I'll show you where we're going to plant the new mums that I have. Okay, so we are outside, and these are my heirloom chrysanthemum cuttings that I purchased this past spring, and I planted them up in the spring. Late spring, early summer, and I've been growing them on in these containers. When I originally got them, they were tiny, super tiny, and I did not feel comfortable putting them outside in our hot weather. I did over here notice that I've got an infestation over here. I don't know what it is. those little nymph guys or whatever. I don't know. I'm going to spray these down with probably some Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. Real quick, those two particular ones. I don't really see any like massive infestations anywhere else. Oh, here's a little bit. But truthfully, that happens a lot with seedlings, in my opinion. I feel like they're weak. And these guys, I grew inside for months and months, right? And they've only been outside, I would say, probably 4 weeks at this point. But let me go ahead and show you where we're going to be planting those. Okay, so here's my original chrysanthemum, heirloom chrysanthemum bed. And you can see it is budding up beautifully, looking really, really good. This right here faces south. So it gets a significant amount of sun throughout the day, and then it gets a little bit of shade in the afternoon. Everybody looks like they're doing really well. I'm not seeing like a whole lot of anything eaten on them or anything like that. But look at these buds up here. Now this plant back here will be my first one to bloom. This is French vanilla. This plant back here last year was the last one to bloom, but it's looking pretty dang good right now. That one was Grape Queen. So very interesting to see how they go. This one right here, I believe is either I think that one's Cheerleader. Some of the ones at the front don't look as great, but they don't look terrible either. Everybody looks nice. Now I've got some holes in some areas where some plants haven't made it over time. I think that's 1, 2, 3. So I think we can put 3 heirloom chrysanthemums in here. This back here is a Japanese, maybe a snowball viburnum. Is that what that is? I think that's what it is. Ooh, I just look. My Meyer lemons are starting to yellow up. That's exciting. Woohoo. But yeah, so that guy probably, should I dig him out? He's never been pretty. Maybe we should dig him out first. And then we can put some more heirloom chrysanthemums back like that. Let's do it. We're going to do that. Okay, I'm really hoping my phone doesn't overheat. All right, this guy does not look good. Maybe ever. Let me pull up its drip line that it has back there. Let's dig this guy up. Okay, I am using my root slayer. I do have a weed barrier down in here, so I am pulling that back to kind of see around. And I am not using the correct footwear. Do better than me. God, this root slayer is awesome. Now, I do not plan on replanting this. It always looks like this. It never looks pretty. Okay. Got that up with relatively no issues. I have weed barrier in here because a long time ago this bed was amaranthus and celosia. And even now I still have celosia coming back up here. And it is just constantly hard to get rid of. And so I ended up putting down the weed barrier to block out a lot of those seeds. And it has worked really, really well. So this opens up another space for an additional heirloom chrysanthemum to go there. Okay, so planting's very easy. Super basic. See this metal pumpkin? These were the centerpieces for my wedding 22 years ago. A long time ago. Now, I have drip lines set up to the base of each of my heirloom chrysanthemums, which I think is a huge help in my area, especially during the hottest and driest times of the year. I have a lot of these staggered at different heights. Let me cut through this. Got the weed barrier here, so I got to cut through that. I typically put the tallest in the back, medium, and then small. And I think right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loosen up all the soil under here. I have a lot of clay soil in this bed, and the mums have done fine with it. It's just been kind of awesome. All right, I'm going to be adding rose tone. Just a handful of that in there. I'm not expecting any blooms from these plants that I'm putting in right now. I won't expect any blooms this year from them. If I do get them, that would be amazing. So I'm going to pull this guy out. This particular variety is Gertrude. I've got a ton of worms at the base of it. All right. We'll do that, and then we will go ahead and pin the drip at the base of the plant. Just like that, super easy. Putting some kind of fertilizer in there is helpful. Biotone would be great. I'm out of it right now, but it would be great for, this kind of needs to stand up straight. It would be really great for establishing new roots for the fall. I still have maybe 5 weeks of growing time, so I think that this guy will be fine. And it has a much more established root system than it did when it was a cutting. So let's go ahead and plant the other 3 here. Okay, I ended up putting 2 back there, 1 there, 1 there. When I got over here, I realized I do have some plants that are doing okay, and I don't want to crowd them even more than they are already crowded. So I feel okay about that. So I ended up getting 4 over here, which works good. There's one other area where I'm going to put a few more. Okay, here's the other area we're growing in. Now, I have this solidago here, and this solidago is most likely getting moved to the back part of the garden when it's ready. So I'm not going to stress about going ahead and putting some other plants underneath it. Pull some grass real quick because it's never ending. Now, let's talk about what else I have going on in this particular bed. This bed is also south facing. It gets more shade in the morning and more sun in the afternoon. This used to have a weed barrier in it because I also grew amaranthus here as well. And so what I'm going to do, this has drip throughout the bed. It doesn't have drip to the to each specific plant. So we're going to go ahead and put, actually I'm going to save a Gertrude. Let me go grab another one. And I've already got one mum right here. It's doing okay. You can see earlier on in its growth, this is all the yellow growth that had chlorosis, and then I added Dr. Iron to the base of it. You can see all the new growth is looking really nice. I'm going to put basically 2 in over here. We have some existing heirloom chrysanthemums, and we have a lot of existing calla lilies, which is fun too. And those are all planted new this year. That guy in. And I think that I'm going to plant one maybe a little bit more towards the back. I think right back here would be nice. Okay, and then once this guy gets moved, I wouldn't even mind putting another heirloom chrysanthemum in there. But right now we have 3 or 4, which look good. This one was a cutting last year and struggled big time. Looks like it's doing okay. Might actually get some blooms on it this year, which would be exciting. I think the variety is called Saint Tropez. Tropez. Yeah. It's looking good. Okay, let's work on propagation. So we need to take some cuttings in order to be able to make a bunch of cuttings. This variety back here, let me take a look. Cheerleader. And I think Kristen would like that one. So I'm going to come in to the base. And I'm going to go all the way to the base of the plant. As far down as I can go, I'm going to cut a stem. All right. And we should be able to get lots of propagation cuttings from that. I am sacrificing some blooms, but that's okay. All right, and let's look at the one beside it, which is extremely prolific. This one is Coral Cavalier. I think she would like that one too. Oh no, sorry guy. Stepping on everybody. Once again, we're gonna come all the way down, base of the mum, cut off a stem. Cheerleader, Coral Cavalier. Let me come over here. Let's get the Grape Queen. I know she'll love that. And I think we'll just start with those. Oh, yeah, we'll just start with those 3. That'll work. Okay, we are inside. So doing cuttings is super simple, super easy. Just takes time and patience. So I've got my basic Amazon seed starting trays. You can start in larger containers. I just find that it's easier for me, especially when propagating, to work on these smaller containers first. We're just going to add basic soil in. I'm using Burger BM7. All right, so we lightly pack the soil. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and fill up our water reservoirs at least 50% of the way. Okay, we do have a rooting powder right here, and last time I used this, I just dipped directly into it, and several of y'all tell me that that is not the way to go, that I need to get a little bowl and then put the rooting powder in the bowl instead of contaminating the entire thing. All right, so we're going to put some rooting powder in here, just like that. All right, and we'll start with this first one, which is Grape Queen. And basically, you need at least 1 leaf node underneath the soil. And you might be asking, Amanda, what is a leaf node? Let's simplify this a little bit. It's right where 2 leaves come together on the stem. We're going to pull those, and those nodes right there will create more roots, okay? And then we're going to go up right above the next set of leaves. We're going to cut. And this is our first cutting. We've got leaf nodes to go under the soil. We've got leaves on top. These leaves on top, we're going to cut them in half so that they're not taking as much energy from the plant. And we're going to roll it around in the rooting hormone. And then we're just going to stick it into the soil as far down as to go, making sure that we have that leaf node underneath. So let's go next. So this next one, I'm going to go ahead and pull off the 2 bottom leaves. So we've got leaf nodes right there. Just might pull off that one too. We're going to cut the existing leaf in half. You don't want to get rid of the existing leaves. You still want to make sure you have those because they do need that for continuing to grow. We'll put some rooting hormone on, and then we'll just pop it into the soil like that. So we're going to do a dozen of each of these varieties. Okay. So we've got 3 varieties started from propagation. I've never had 100% with anything that I've ever propagated. The best luck I've ever had is with coleus. If I get at least 50% of these, I'd be thrilled. That would be amazing. Like I said, they're free. So I just took them right off my own plants, which is great. So a few different things. I wanted to make sure I told you that When you cut the stem, you want to push the stem as far down the soil as you can, all the way to the bottom if possible, and that's just going to create a better root structure and get more leaf nodes under the soil. All right, you all, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Seeing me talk about some heirloom chrysanthemums, why I love them, some of the reality expectations regarding them, how to care for them, planting out some new varieties, which is very, very exciting. And those varieties, as a reminder, are cuttings that I got in the spring. Planted them up in containers, grew them on inside throughout the summer, and then planted them outside. And then doing our own set of propagated cuttings for Kristen to use in her garden. All right, let me know your thoughts on heirloom chrysanthemums. I love hearing from people who have given them a try since they got to know me. I've been growing them for 3 years, and I absolutely am obsessed with them. Cannot wait till November when most everything has gone to bed and those heirloom chrysanthemums start blooming. So exciting. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below letting me know you made it to the end and that you say hi. Also, check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.